Watch the house with broken glass. Red ties, blue lights, same old mask. Tories trading truth for gold. Label folded, stories sold. They made their millions, made us pay. Gaslit nights, cost of living days. Hands in pockets, hands in bribes. While we bury dreams and scrape to survive. We see your rules for the rich. Your friends, your deals, your offshore ships. We ain't blind, we've had enough. You lit the match, now feel the rush. The people rise, the truth ignites. From the silent streets to sleepless nights. No more lies.
Hello and welcome to episode 3. Today you've got myself, Jay Hurst.
Jason Smith.
And we are the Truth Coalition. And guys, as you know, we like to bring you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth here on the Truth Coalition. We don't cut any corners. We don't say what you want us to say. We say what we want to say. We say what we believe. And we believe a lot of what we say is a general feeling around the UK at the moment. And like I say, this week, we're going to focus on the grooming gangs and the grooming gang situation. And we're going to touch quite a lot on a lot of the denial that we're getting from the government. We've got some great video clips to show you as well. And I think you're all with us on this one. It's an horrendous situation that we all know and we all see it on a daily basis. It's just being constantly brushed under the carpet. You know, so Jason, you want to lead the way with this one, mate? You've been doing some research, so let's see what you got, buddy.
Yeah. Before I start, there is a warning at the beginning of this video. So if you ain't really into the kind of disturbing conversation that we're about to have, because we can't get around it being disturbing. It's a disgusting thing that's happened, and we're going to shed light on it. So if you are uncomfortable with this, I suggest you turn over now and maybe not listen to this podcast. I'll get started. So I'm going to talk about Baroness Casey's latest inquiry that's prompted a new national inquiry. So I'm going to be reading it from this. So I want to get everything right. So Casey's report's findings. So in institutional failure, the report identifies a profound institutional failure to protect children and teenage girls from sexual exploitation, rape, and serious violence. She found this on her findings in Oldham. The downgrading of cases. It's found too many examples of, if I say CSE, everybody knows what that is, child sexual exploitation. CSE, cases being dropped or downgraded from rape to lesser charges, often due to participation of victims' consent or being in love with the perpetrator while the child was under the age of 16, under the age of consent. So this is the reason why a lot of these cases got dropped. Also, she touched base on vulnerability of victims. The audit described victims as young as 10, often in care, or children with learning disabilities or physical disabilities being targeted precisely because of their disabilities and vulnerabilities. Ethnic data. It touched on ethnic data. The report noted that ethnicity data was not recorded for 2/3 of the grooming gang perpetrators, hindering the full understanding of the issue. However, it also stated that the perpetrators and victims come from all ethnic groups, while acknowledging that a large amount of these group-based CSE offending men were from Asian ethnicity in a lot of the areas. Also, this one is quite disturbing, to be honest. The taxi licensing loophole. Taxi licensing loophole. The report highlighted how taxis were a key part of the nighttime economy in picking these girls up from outside child homes or outside care homes and taking them to the houses to be raped. These were just standard taxi drivers. Then we got denial and resistance. Case concluded that despite 15 years worth of inquiries and calls for change, because you have to remember that Casey done the one in Rotherham and left a load of stuff for them to get on with. Yeah. So despite 15 years of inquiries and calls for change, there is a collective denial, a resistance, and a legal wrangling amongst agencies at national and institutional levels. We got a video just to show that example. So it's grim, right? You can see
That's grim.
born there,
Yeah.
don't care. And the one that frightened me the most, Jay, I don't know about you, but the one that frightened me the most was when I see that there's taxi firms out there that are used to move these girls from outside of homes where they're supposed to be protected to houses just to be raped.
But what gets me with that is so these young girls and sometimes boys as well, which we know, where do the people who are supposed to be caring for them in the care homes think they are? Because we know that these girls didn't just disappear for an hour or two. Sometimes they were gone for days and weeks. So there's got to be a record somewhere in them care homes of these girls being missing or not unaccounted for in the beds for multiple nights. So who answered these questions when people went there and said, so where was this young girl, A or B or C? Where were they for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Where were they? Why were these people in these care homes in positions of, privileged positions? You don't just get a job in a care home looking after children unless you're a bright, you've got a kind of an education and you've been vetted. Why have these people not been held accountable for a start?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the bottom of the tree. Obviously, we've got to go all the way to the top, but they're in that chain. This chain we're going to talk about, they're in that chain. They have to have known what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a scary thought that these people were helping these predators. Kind of, they were helping them by not reporting, by not calling out or trying to find these girls. They were actually helping these predators take advantage of children. You know,
were they being given financial incentives? These people. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've heard about that kind of thing. Have their bank accounts and their finances been looked into, investigated? I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to do. Wouldn't be difficult to do.
I mean, I've got an example here. So I've got one of the statements from one of the poor girls who was involved in this. I mean, she was raped, and let's be honest, she was brutalized by these people.
Can I just quickly say there as well? People need to remember these girls were victims. They weren't, they weren't given permission. Girls under the age of 16 cannot give permission. Any girl under the age of 16 who has sex with any man, it is rape, statutory rape. So these police who say they gave permission, they were drunk, etc., which we'll touch on, this is rape. These girls were victims, solely victims. No other thing to call them, either. They are victims.
Yeah,
100% victims.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read you this little bit. This is not explicit, but it's sad. It is very sad. She's called Sarah, protecting her identity. So for her name's Sarah. So Sarah was 11 when she was first groomed and abused in Rotherham. She claimed that a police officer found her naked in a bed and left without doing anything. Sarah, who was living in a care home at the time, said she was taken to a house with two Asian males and shown what to do sexually by other girls that were there. While she was there, she assumed that she had been reported missing because no one knew she was gone. And the police knocked on the door. Her and other girl were pushed down the side of the bed, completely naked, no clothes on. The police officer come to the side of the bed. She said, quote, I recall locking eyes with the police officer. He looked down at me and said, okay, there's nobody here, and left the house. She was then dropped off the next day at the care home. Sarah said the abuse went on for 5 to 6 years and involved 40 to 50 men. Now, this is one victim, and we have to think about thousands of these girls. And what she states is she would be taken to a house where there would be Asian men there, anywhere from 2 Asian, always multiple men, anywhere from 2 to 10. Asian men in this house. And these Asian men would claw her clothes off, absolutely do the most disturbing things you could possibly imagine. They would use implements. They would insert baseball bats, cans of Red Bull. And this girl is 11 years old. They would do these things. And then these men would rape her multiple times over multiple days. So just when, sorry, I'm starting to get
Take a minute, mate.
So just after this happens, and they chuck her clothes on her, and someone knocks at the door from one of this taxi service. She thinks she's going home. They put her in a car. She takes a deep breath. She thinks she's going home. The taxi driver's taken her to a new city, to another house, full of more men, where she gets raped multiple times by multiple men. And this happens across 50 cities, 50 places across the UK. This girl's travelled around and passed around this, and she will say, the Pakistani community, where she is just raped over and over again before they take her home. And when it's reported, the police blame her.
That's what I just said there, haven't I? I mean, that's what I just touched on. You know, we've heard these stories of these young girls and police, you know, blaming the girls. But that, I'm going to swear, mate, that is fucking horrendous. For a police officer to walk in there, see a young girl in a room with men, naked. I mean, and he turns a blind eye. We need to know that we need to know the police officer is, but we know it's not just him. We know this corruption with this grooming gang scandal goes so deep. And I think that's why they've tried to ignore it and tried not to do an investigation, because it goes so deep from the top to the bottom. You know, like I say, the bottom being the people from the care homes. Well, the bottom being the young girls, really, because they were treated like something, you know, on the bottom of your shoe. But then the people from the care homes, the taxi drivers, you know, the police, the social services, the politicians. I mean, there's got to be a record somewhere. You know, there's got to be a record somewhere of that police officer answering a call. It's got to be a record somewhere. So somebody somewhere knows who that police officer is. But then going back to what you said there, mate, about implements, you know, I'm not often speechless, but I am, mate. I am. There's not a lot of things I listen to, and fuck me, that's disturbed me, that, mate. I mean, it has.
Yeah.
I know it was hard for you to read that out. I can see you've got young girls. I know that, you know, and for anyone out there who's got young girls and watching this, you know, sorry if that does trigger you, but just try and take a moment and just think to yourself, that is someone's daughter, you know, and that girl, like you said, she thought she was going home after going through the most brutal thing, which probably lasted for hours and hours, you know.
It was over days.
Yeah. And then to be put in a taxi and she's going home, to be then taken to another location and the same thing happened to her again and again. And these fuckers in Parliament think we didn't need a fucking investigation.
I mean, the craziest thing is, as we've seen, and a part of me feels like it's being downplayed way too much by the mainstream media, because Labour had 3 opportunities to put in place a national inquiry into this, and let's not forget, this is just the latest. This goes back 15 years from the very first inquiry, when it should have been done in the first place. Can
you imagine, though, Jason, how many young girls that's happened to in these 15 years, in 50 cities?
It's just...
It's mind-boggling. It is. It's disturbing.
I always believe, if that happens to a young girl, you've took her life.
Oh,
whether she's alive or dead, you've took her life.
She's never recovering from that.
No. So these people... sorry, Jay. These people walking around, I mean, there was a guy from the Rotherham inquiries who got arrested for it, and I'll have to research his name. I apologise, I ain't got it in here. It's just because we just got onto it. But he did get arrested for it, and he got out of prison, and he was supposed to be deported, but he got rid of his Pakistani passport, so he couldn't be sent home because now he's a non-national.
I read that myself the other day.
Yeah.
Got it in my phone.
Now the guy works for a pizza delivery place in Rotherham. So he could be delivering a pizza to the very girl that he raped or the very girls that he's molested, and he could be delivering them a pizza, and he's allowed to work in the UK and send his money back home to Pakistan and build a mansion, but he is still in the same area that he got arrested for raping young children in these grooming gangs. And that just shows you.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Some of them young girls will be adults now, probably have their own children. Could you imagine a little, a parent answering the door with a little kid there, and he's at the door? Because you're never going to forget the face, you're never going to forget the eyes, you're never going to forget the fucking smell of him, the stench of the man, And could you imagine she's trying to rebuild her life? Not that, like I say, she'll ever get over it. The physical scars will in time heal, but the mental scars will never ever go. She's going to need help for most of her life. Meeting a man and being intimate with a man in their adult life is going to be so difficult. But there's some of them young girls will be now mothers themselves. Imagine answering the door to that fucker.
It's going to take them all the way back there. It is going to absolutely, they'll have to live through that all over again. I mean, this guy went to prison and he got 12 years. Yeah. So these girls that he's raped have had 12 years, say 12 years to kind of come to terms with it. That happened to them. That happened to them. But then for this man to be let out of prison and allowed to live in the same area that he got arrested for offending and to deliver pizzas, if he does knock on the door, them 12 years, that girl might have gone through 12 years worth of therapy to try and get over that. And he knocks on the door, it's gone. It's gone. It's just, I mean, the justice system needs to be abolished because it clearly ain't working. The Labour MPs have turned down the national inquiry 3 times because there's no excuse behind it. There's none. They have to be involved in it somehow. That's the only reason why.
But 12 years, though. I mean, 12 years. Why are the sentences? I mean, who the fuck sat down one day and said, you can do all this to a young girl multiple times, with implements, multiple places, with multiple people, and ruin their childhood, ruin their adulthood, really, mentally, and only get 12 years in prison?
It's completely wrong.
And then when you have done your time, now I'm a firm believer you do a crime, you do your time, and once you've done your time, you should be allowed into society. Some things, all right? But to allow that person back on the street, like you say, in the same area where he's committed the offence, where the victims are, I don't like it when people say they're not victims, they're survivors. That's too PC for me. They're fucking victims. They will always be victims. Yes, they have survived it, but they haven't survived it because they're always a victim. They will always be. So for me, I think the word victim, and I don't mean that to sound, if anybody who watches this podcast and is a victim, if they want to call themselves a survivor, that's fine. And they are survivors to a degree. But for me, I think the victims, they will always be a victim. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling them a victim. I think calling them a survivor glosses over it a little bit, if you know what I mean, mate. For me, they're victims. They will always be victims. But to allow this person back into society in the same area where these victims live, that's just like saying to the girls, bollocks, you mean nothing. We don't care about your sanity. We don't care about your mental health. We don't care about your future. He's done his crime. He's done his time. And now he's allowed back on the street. You know, that for me is very hard to take. Very hard.
It's very hard to stomach, Jay, because it just seems to me that it's getting downplayed, and it's not, and it's becoming like a norm to ignore the fact that this is such a horrendous thing to happen to someone.
Yeah.
It's got that downplayed that no one really, they just talk about, it's just the grooming gangs. Well, no, it's not just the grooming gangs. You know, these young girls are young girls. Now, if you have got daughters or you've got a younger sister or a niece or whatever, and she's 11 years old, 10 years old, put her in. If you can even want to imagine her ending up in that situation. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not gloss over this. Let's not downplay this. This is probably the most horrendous thing, the most grotesque crime, organised rape crime that's ever happened in the history of the United Kingdom.
I mean, these are sophisticated. I've said this before. These, and let's not bullshit it, these Pakistani men, right? I seen a statistic the other day. I might get it wrong. 6% of sexual crimes were Pakistani perpetrators, but they made up 64% of all sexual crimes against children. But only 6% were Pakistani men. That's mental. So let's not go over it. These are Pakistani Muslim men that are doing this, right? But we don't hear enough of it in the mainstream media. If it wasn't for people like me and you and other people on podcasts, TikTok, X, whatever the platform is, talking about this, we don't hear enough about it. We hear a little bit in the newspaper, but it's not at the top. You'll pick up a newspaper tomorrow and the main story will be something stupid. Oh, Katie Price had a fucking tits done or something like that. And all the way down the bottom, if you can be bothered reading so far down, because you're pissed off with half the articles anyway, somewhere slotted in at the bottom with a little story about the grooming gang. And it never speaks in detail like you did. You know, it never even goes, obviously they can't speak in as much detail as we have on what you did, but they don't even, when they write about it, they don't even write about it like it's a serious thing. They soften it, the way these reporters write, the words they use, you know, the way they describe it, it doesn't do it the justice that these victims deserve. You know, these soft articles, and that's if they write about it. But for me, the mainstream media should be all over this, and they're not. So there's another for me in the line of all these people who are covering it up. The mainstream media have got so much to answer to. So much to answer to, mate.
I think the only media that cover this at the moment that you would see will maybe be probably GB News are on their heels, mate. And GB News are great at getting that message out there. No, this ain't on. This is not, shouldn't be allowed, and we should be talking about this more. But when it comes to the papers, and when it comes to the standard mainstream media, they should be plastering this everywhere to force people to do something about it. Yeah. This should be headlines, continuous headline until something gets done, because these girls deserve that. Like, you cannot call these girls survivors if the perpetrators are still walking the streets and they're still getting away with it. And when I say perpetrators, I don't just mean the guys that done this to them, the rape that they done to them, and the molestation that they done. I don't just mean these guys. I mean everyone who was involved. I mean everyone from the care home, taxi service, media, hospitals, police force, mayors, all the way up until the MP, to the PM, because he knew. This goes all the way back then when they tried to cover it up back then with Gordon Brown and blah, blah, blah. They all tried to cover it up then. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They wanted well away from it because they were scared that they were going to lose voters and they didn't want to be called racist and blah, 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 blah. When it's nothing to do with that. Do you really want them? Do you really want them voters voting for you? No, you fucking don't. You know what I mean? They're the wrong type of people you want on your side. Do you know, you're scared of being called racist? How about don't bring race into it? Yeah. They're paedophiles. They're rapists. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know?
But they all happen to be Pakistani Muslim men as well. Does that make us a racist? No, it just makes you a fucking fact teller. At the end of the day, was he white? No. Was he Pakistani? Yes. That's not racism, you know? Well, it's not racism to point out somebody's race. If you were to turn around and say something derogatory about all Pakistani Muslim men, then you're being racist. But by just pointing out the fact that these perpetrators are Pakistani Muslim men and they raped these young girls, they physically molested them with sophisticated networks of other fucking molesters and groomers over a massive period of time, and they were helped by the social services, the doctors, the nurses, the police, the PMs and everything. And if you say that, does that make you a racist? Well, if that makes me a racist, then I'm a fucking racist then, mate. Simple as that. But what I am is a realist.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way of getting around it, because if these groups were massive groups of white English men, it would be the first thing in the headlines. It would be the first thing coming out these MPs' mouths and the police mouths. This group of white English men were raping children. And that's without a shadow of a doubt. We've seen that. We know that happens.
And so it should be.
Yes.
And so what colour your skin is and what race you are. If you're raping children, you should be fucking plastered all over every news, TV channel, newspaper, broadsheet, social media post. And nobody should ever say, oh, you're only talking about it because he's Pakistani or he's white. That should never come into it. It should never be about race. It's about one thing. You're a paedophile. It doesn't matter what colour your skin is and what race you're from. You are a paedophile. But like you say, a lot of people are more concerned about being called racist than they are pointing out what's going on. They're scared to be called a racist. I ain't scared of being called a racist. I know what I am. I know I ain't a racist. If someone wants to call me a racist for pointing out that Pakistani men are raping girls, then that just shows how fucking pathetic that person is, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know? Because it wouldn't matter, right? It don't matter whether they're white, black, or Pakistani. If you go around raping people, you're wrong and full stop.
And there's a lot of white men out there. There's a lot of white men out there as well doing the same thing to young children.
Of course there is.
They need to be dragged through the courts as well. Yeah.
And we all feel the same thing. If it comes out of if I was living here in this house here and 4 doors down, there's a guy there and he's raping girls and he's a nonce.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna see a very severe side of me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to part of it. I don't care what colour your skin is. You fucking don't do it. It's just that simple. You know?
But there's actual people in the UK though, mate, like you just described that. So somebody 4 doors down and you find out he's a nonce. He's a Pakistani Muslim man. There's people in this country who go, oh, fuck, I'm not saying anything because they're scared of being labelled racist. But if he was a white person, so it's not just the media, it's not me and you, but it's people, ordinary people like us, are also contributing to it because they're scared of being called a racist.
Yeah.
So they would happily knock on the door, phone the police if it was a white person. No, they're not going to get labelled a racist. But if it's a Pakistani or it's a black person or it's anything but a white person, there's a lot of people who do turn a blind eye, just think, you know what, it's none of my business. Let someone else do it because I don't want to be called a racist. And there's far too much of that. Far too much of it. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason why this is happening on such a wide level. You know, like at the moment, London is rife with it. It's rife with these. I don't even want to call them grooming gangs. They're not grooming these kids. They're raping them. They're raping gangs. So yeah, London's rife with it in a minute. There's so many of them, and you got Khan who don't want to answer a question and downplay it, and you're not allowed to say nothing because it's racist. So it's one of them things where you're just like, well, who do you care about here? Well, you know, like, do you care about the victims or do you care about upsetting someone because they might think it's a bit offensive that you mention their identity, that the way you identify someone, you know? Because I'm a white guy, he's a Pakistani guy. If he's a rapist, he's a Pakistani rapist. If he's a white guy and he's a rapist, he's a white rapist. You know, it's just identification. There's no race involved, and people are so scared that this is allowed to happen. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I mean, you touched on it there, you're on about Khan. I think now's probably a good time, what we chatted about earlier. I mean, there's that video going around. We've all seen it this week. I'm just going to play it now, guys. Just watch this. This is Sadiq Khan being questioned. Just watch this fucking idiot. Just watch this, guys.
Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be? So I asked you this question last week and you found every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
So the situation in London in relation to young people being groomed is different to the parts of the country. So what we have in London is young people being groomed, use your words, not mine, to be used in county lines. In relation to sometimes...
Okay, let me make it clear. Sorry, I wasn't clear enough. I was told I shouldn't be saying rape gangs. They are rape gangs. I'm talking about rape gangs. I'm not talking about country lines. But to go back, nobody likes me saying rape gangs, although they are rape gangs. Grooming gangs that I would call rape gangs. Tell me about them. How many of those have we got? Not country lines, those particular groups.
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex, that is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
Today we need to give a full answer. Can she be clear what she means by that? I'm not clear what she means.
How much clearer do you want me to be? Look at the gangs that they've uncovered in other parts of the country. Do we have those gangs in London? It's a simple question. The answer is very simple. It's yes or no. I'm not asking you where those gangs are because the police might not want them to be disclosed. I'm asking you, do we have those sort of gangs in London?
I'm not sure why she's so nervous to say what she means. What do you mean?
No. I am saying exactly what I mean. I'm saying, have we got any of those grooming gangs in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
So we do have issues in London with young girls being groomed for county lines. Some of those girls are used for sex. And that's one of the reasons why I've set up things like the Lighthouse, funded by City Hall, why we've set up 4 hubs that help survivors of child sexual abuse, why we're investing in London's Violence and Exploitation Support Service, why I commissioned the HMI to look into the issue of child exploitation, why the Met Police Service now employs 1,200 child protection officers, why we have Operations Interior, first begun in London, why we're the only police force that began the V100, targeting the 100 most violent
I just
young
asked
people.
a yes-no question. So approximately how many of these gangs that I am talking about, that I do not know why you don't understand the sort of gangs I'm talking about, exactly, or approximately I should say, to give you leeway, approximately how many of those gangs have we got in London? Because the public is very, very rightfully concerned about this and concerned about these young women.
Well, I'm still none the wiser why she's so nervous about saying what she means. But in London, we have V100, which are the 100 most prolific, dangerous people the police target. That number goes up and down. So one month, the V100 may be 120 people, or one month there may be 80 people, and each BCU has a localised V number. So when I was in Croydon a few weeks ago, the V number wasn't 100, it was a bit below. But as they reminded me, people can sometimes go in that list or out that list.
Thank you. Chairman, I was very clear in what I was talking about. I just don't understand what it is that the Mayor wants me to say that's any different. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
So, I mean, how many times does she ask him there, Jason? How many times does she ask him? And he just avoids the question. How is that man the Mayor of London? How?
Well, the whole, I mean, you can see he is goading her to say Pakistani. That is exactly what he's doing.
It's what we just said. He wants to label her as a racist. Yeah. That's what he wants.
That's his escape. That's his escape. And yet you have to remember that Khan is deeply involved with some of these people that do these things. Yeah. He's had pictures done, videos done, their family members, blah, blah, blah. He is deeply involved with some of these people. So he don't want to be involved with this. And he'd rather tarnish someone as a racist just so he can go, well, no, they were racist. Like, why should I answer that question? They were racist. But she was very good.
She was clever. Yeah, she was brilliant. She was brilliant. She never sort of paused or anything and had to think about it. I think she knew before she went in there what kind of response she was going to get from him. Yeah. I think she's probably asked him before off camera. And I believe she sort of said to herself, I'm going to have you on camera. And I think she knew exactly what she was going to say. I think she knew exactly how he was going to come back. And I think she was ready for him. She was so good. She was so quick. And she did not back down. She wanted him to answer. And he was not going to.
He just won't. Khan never will. I don't think you'll find a Labour MP out there who would be willing to talk the truth, who would be willing to stand up and say this is a thing. I mean, look at Jess Phillips, for instance. It's her job. That's her job.
Yeah.
you know, to support these girls. She just lets them down. She just let them down. You know, and you say anything to her, and she calls you racist, and she says that like people are just pushing an agenda and blah blah blah. You know, it's like that's your job. It's your one job. It's to protect these girls and make sure they get justice.
I mean, we've heard before that these young girls. I mean, obviously these paedophiles. That's what we're going to call them, paedophiles. That's what they are, paedophiles. These paedophiles are abusing these girls. And we know that they put fear into them. They tell them, we're going to go for your family and all this. But the main reason why these girls don't tell anybody what's going on is because they have tried and it falls on deaf ears. Like you say, the young girl down the side of the bed naked, police officer walks in, nothing to see her, and walks away. Them girls, if there's a police officer sees them fucking naked in a room full of paedophiles, then no wonder they don't tell anybody. Because I mean, if they go and tell the mum and dad are going to go round to the police station, and they're going to go straight to the police station, the girls are going to go, no, change my mind. These girls, from the day they were picked up the first time, they've never had any help, support, or anything. And it's not just through fear of threats of violence and things that these paedophiles threaten them with, but it's also knowing for a fact they've been in a situation where the police officer's been there and done nothing. These girls have no faith in the system. So it's all right, these people say, well, these girls allowed it to happen. No, they didn't allow it to happen. They didn't have a choice. Who could they turn to? When the police aren't protecting them, the people looking after them aren't protecting them, where could they turn? And now we're at the point now where we all know it's happened, and even our own politicians and the PM and the Mayor of London, Sadiq fucking Khan, waste of air that he is, can't even answer a simple question about them. I feel so sorry for these girls because of what's happened. But even now, they're just being abused. They're being abused again by the system. Aren't they? They're just being abused by the system, and it's heartbreaking, mate. It is heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, the main goal of us talking about this today is, I think, was for that very reason, that we've absolutely had enough of people not saying what it is, not saying this is the issue. You know, there's so many people that are so scared to say, no, this is not right. These girls are victims. They've been victimised. They come out, try to get help. They were victimised again by the people that are supposed to help them. And now they're being victimised by the media. Now they're being victimised by the government because they ain't getting the justice they deserve, you know. And like there was examples of one of the girls that went missing. She went missing. The dad knew where she was. He couldn't go round there because of gangs of these Muslim men in this flat above a kebab shop. So he knew where she was. He went to the police. The police done nothing. The police went round there and said no. She was consenting to be there. The dad said she's 13 years old. Yeah. The police said, well, she give her consent. She's there, there's nothing untoward, she's just hanging around, blah, we can't make her leave. What?
So that goes back to what I was saying, Jason. That goes back to what I'm saying. They're not even being labelled as victims by the police, they're being labelled as willing participants.
Yeah.
It's fucking mind-blowing.
I mean, you can't be a willing participant if you're under the age of 16. Simple as that. Yeah. It's a legal age. That's the legal age for sex in this country. I still think it's too young, but that is the legal age for sex in this country. Anybody under the age of that, it's rape. I don't care what you say, fucking rape. You know what I mean?
But then we've got politicians who wanting to bring the legal age down for girls.
Yeah, down to 30. Which to me, this is just another thing of this kind of weird culture of it's fine to abuse people as long as we put a bit of legislation in. No, I'm sorry, it's not fine. These are kids. I mean, girls ain't fully developed until like they're age 21. You know, 16-year-old. If they're going to go out and experiment and do what kids do, it should be with someone their same age.
Yeah.
Not a fucking grown man, not a grown woman, not anyone. Not anyone should be touching these girls.
But even saying that, I mean, I had the conversation with my wife the other day. I mean, I'm 54 years old. Legally, a 16-year-old girl I could be with. That's still not fucking normal, is it?
No.
It's still not normal. Morally, it's wrong.
Yeah, no way.
You know,
Yeah.
if a 16-year-old goes with a 17, 18, 19-year-old, even a 20-year-old, okay, it's sort of the same age bracket. You know, boys grow up a little bit slower than girls, so probably, you know, mentally, you know, it's okay. But when you start getting in the echelons, late 20s, 30s, all that kind of stuff, men with young girls, I'm sorry, it's wrong. But to then try and bring the age down to 13, that's then just basically saying is, and I said this before, we're just legalising paedophilia. We're just going to legalise it then. And you as a parent of girls, and me as an uncle of a niece who's 10, you know, we mentioned earlier, that means in 3 years' time, a grown man can be with my niece, or a grown man can be with your. Nah, I'm sorry. They're just trying to legalise it. You cannot legalise paedophilia. You've got to fucking clamp it out, and and you can't keep saying that these girls are willing participants. I mean, they're doing that now. So then what they're going to do, bring the age down to 13, and then they will be classed as willing participants because a 13-year-old, it's legal for a man to sleep with them. No, I'm sorry, mate. That's right.
No, it's not right. And we just see it all the time, right, Jay? We just see it all the time now. It's just, if they can't find a way to fix it, they just change the law to suit it.
I'd be interested, actually, anyone watching this podcast, and I hope there's many of you, get your comments in, please, of everything we spoke about so far, but your comment mainly on what we just said there about, you know, the PM wanting to bring the legal age down for girls to 13, which basically is legalising paedophilia. I mean, I'd like to see people's comments on that. And I know what people are going to say. I would be very surprised if there's even one single person who isn't with us on this. I'd be very surprised. Yeah. So, guys, get your comments in, please. We'd be really interested in what you've got to say about that. But, yeah, in my opinion, and I know you're the same as me, Jason, you bring that age down to 13. I mean, that's just, it's incomprehensible. It is incomprehensible. And it is just basically legalising it then, you know.
I mean, we're from a country and a heritage that kind of respects our women, you know, and we're not from one of these countries where it's absolutely fine to marry fucking 8-year-olds and stuff, you know. It's just, to me, it's heathenistic. You shouldn't be doing that. It's just completely wrong, right? Anyone that can look at a child and think that's acceptable is completely wrong. And it makes me feel physically sick knowing that this is happening in such large numbers, and the government that are kind, to me, are swaying towards more trying to accept it rather than fix it.
I know. I mean, I grew up in a world, same as you, that, you know, the female form is a beautiful thing in many different shapes and sizes, tall, short, you know, curvy, thin, whatever. It's whatever floats your boat. But you know, we should be treating women with respect. We should, you know, I'm still of the old school where I open doors and I pull out chairs. I'm respectful to women and, you know, that kind of thing. And I believe that. But I believe that any man who looks at a woman and finds them attractive, it's a normal thing to do. Any man who looks at a child and finds it attractive, you're fucking sick in the head, mate. You're sick in the head. Yeah. You're sick in the head.
I mean, it's, the children are innocent, you know. They've got that innocence about them. That's why people love kids, and that's why people love having children, because of the innocence. It reminds you of innocence. I don't even know what else to say.
You can be a child yourself again, though, can't you? Yeah. Around the child, you know. I'm like that with my niece. She comes up, I act silly. We jump in and out the pool, or we go to the beach, and we act silly. You know, we go on bumper cars. I make silly noises and squeal with her and laugh and joke. You act like a child again, and that's why we like being around children. That's why I like being around children. Yeah. You know, because they make you feel young and they keep you busy, and you know, it's the energy from them and the innocence from, like you say, from them. You know, the silly questions you get sometimes from them, like, and you think, God, I was like that once. You know, that's what you're saying. That is what a child is. A child should not be an object of sexual desire for any fucking adult. It shouldn't be made.
I mean, we put this warning on at the beginning of the video, and I feel like I should have read it myself, because stuff like this, it sickens me. I lose sleep over stuff like this.
I know.
You know, because I just can't. I've told you before, Jay, that I've known someone who's been involved with who's been a victim of this issue in London.
So I know somebody very, very close to me who was a victim of this kind of thing. So I'll never say who. I would never do that to a person, but and yourself, the stories that you hear, and the question I always ask is, how did it happen? And the question you get is, I just don't know, just like that.
Yeah. And when you've got no one supporting you, or no one who's supposed to be safeguarding you, doing their job properly, it becomes very easy for this to happen to these girls. I mean, these girls are in most of these girls. A lot of these victims were picked up from care homes because of their vulnerability. So then you have to ask yourself the question, like, why are they in a care home? They must have had a really bad upbringing, a mum and dad that didn't care about them, a mum and dad that maybe abused them themselves, or physically, sexually abused them, or perhaps they have got no other family and their mum and dad died in an accident and have caused that kind of trauma, So they're in this home for a reason, because they're vulnerable. And they go to these homes, and you expect that the people that work in these homes are going to show them the love that they deserve, the love, because they've come away from such...
Special love, because they've had such a shit start in life. Like you might have lost both your parents, or you've been in an abusive home, or whatever it is, and you're in this situation because of a bad start in life. More so as an adult, if I met a kid tomorrow and there was two kids and one had a bad start and one had a great life, I probably would be more towards the kid who had a bad start, because it's just natural in me that poor kid that's a shit start. I'd probably be for that kid, not deliberately, but I would be. And you think these people in care homes are there because they're called carers. That's the fucking worst thing you can call them, because none of them cared. They should be giving these kids extra love and attention, the right kind of love and attention, what they've not had in their lives.
It just blows my mind that this hasn't happened, and it's like, what are these people there just punching in, sitting down, paying no attention, waiting to get paid? And that's how it has to be. That's how it's had to have been for them not to do anything about it. To allow this to happen, allow these girls to be groomed and convinced and all of these things, and then taken, and then all of these terrible things happen to them. But the first port of call is, well, why weren't you safeguarded? Why weren't someone there helping you to stop this from happening? And it's a different story when you come to girls that live with their parents, because as I was telling you the story about that dad who went to the police station multiple times, and in the end the police arrested him for harassment. They arrested the girl's dad for harassment while she was in a flat above a kebab shop being raped. The dad got arrested for harassment. And I mean, you can hear by my voice, I'm just angry, mate. And it just makes me so angry that this was allowed to happen. And then when they finally got the girl back, they arrested her for solicitation. Solicitation. An underage girl.
Yeah. I know. You've got to, I'm biting my lip here a bit. I am biting my lip here a bit, because it makes me so angry. But again, going back to what I said, these people in these care homes have got to be on the take, because they know what's going on. They know the people involved. They can talk at any time. The only thing that's going to keep them quiet is that they've got to be on the take. I'm sorry. They've got to be.
It's racketeering at its best.
It is.
I mean, everybody's involved. This is organised crime.
It's trafficking.
Yeah.
It's sex trafficking.
Yeah, but what our government don't want to admit that's what it is. They want to call it grooming gangs. They're not gangs. This is across the whole of the UK. Girls are trafficked from one place to another, back and forth. Trafficked from one place back and forth. These guys are doing what they want to, and the guy who facilitates the girl is probably getting paid from them other guys that they're taking her to. They're all paying him. It's organised crime, and call it what it is. Organised crime. These people should be sent to prison for life if they're from the UK. If they're not from the UK, they should be deported from the UK out instantly to another country where they get imprisoned for life. But our taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for them. These girls, these victims of these who are now old enough to be working, why should their tax money be paying for these dirty fuckers to be in prison?
Yeah, exactly. But we're paying for it. Our children are paying for it, and then we're paying for it. So we're all paying for it while they get away with it. But again, it goes back to Is it a cover up, or is it fear from the politicians, because then they're going to have to admit that we've let too many people in? But while this is happening, we're still letting them in. They're still coming in, you know, and then they're still coming in day after day after day, undocumented. And it's happening day after day after. It's still happening now. But people out there, if you think that this grooming situation has now ended because it's out there, bullshit. It's still happening today, right this minute. There's a young girl going through the things we've discussed tonight. She is with a group of men and she's having the most horrendous things done to her right as we speak. And I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
It's the sad thing about it, mate. And we've still got fucking politicians and the man at the top, the PM, and the other scumbag, Sadiq Khan, won't even acknowledge them. Won't even acknowledge we've got a problem. But what do? They keep letting these people in. Okay? Now, he's a solution. Okay, you stop them coming in for now. Okay? If you can prove to us that these people coming in are good for the country, okay, let us see it. But you stop them coming in and you start dealing with the criminals that you've got and get rid of them, you'll see a massive improvement. But the fact of the matter is, this is happening right now as we speak to some other girls somewhere in the UK in multiple cities right now as we speak. And that's the fucking terrifying thing about it, mate.
It's terrifying. And the only explanation for it, the only explanation that I can see, in my opinion, is they're involved somehow. Because in my mind, there's no way I can even find an excuse to go, I don't want to look into that. You know, there's no excuse. A man or anyone in power that knows that's happening to children, you would throw the full force of everything you have into that situation.
No matter what it costs.
No matter what it costs.
If the British economy was to fucking fall flat on his arse for the next 10 years and we had a mental reaction, well, I mean, there is anyway. But it doesn't matter what it costs. These girls deserve justice. Proper justice, and they deserve acknowledgement. They deserve to be acknowledged for what they are, victims.
Yeah.
Not willing participants, not prostitutes, you know, not bad girls. And I don't care if you are a bad girl in the sense of, you know, you do some shoplifting, you've been, you know, you might be a bully to other kids at school, whatever. Kids do that. No child, no matter what their background is, deserves for this to happen to them ever in their life. But it is still happening right as we speak, mate.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a flying fuck about them. I do. You do. I know a lot of the British people do. But the people who should be caring about them, from the carers, from the police, from the politicians, don't give a flying fuck. And that is sad. And they still don't. You know, looking at that video we just seen of Sadiq Khan, I mean, he can't. He's more concerned about the correct terminology. When she says grooming gangs, he's not happy with the term grooming gangs. All right, nonsense then. Paedophiles then. Kiddie fiddlers. What do you want? She should have fired back with something else. Paedophiles. Nonsense. Or she should have said Pakistani nonsense. Pakistani paedophiles, because that's what they are. This is what they were talking about. It's not racism if you're actually talking about a specific race of people. You know? But he wasn't happy with the terminology she was using. It was like he found it offensive. You know,
I think he just wanted her to say it so he had something to escape, so he had something to push back. Because in the UK, it's an easy thing to throw around when you're trying to get out of something. When you don't want to answer a question, you're discriminating against me, you're being racist. Blah 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 blah. It's got nothing to do with fucking race. You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with race. It's all to do with the fact that these are the people that are doing it. That's it. Yeah. There's nothing else to it.
It's almost like,
that's it.
It's almost like, let them keep doing it, because if we talk about it, we're all going to be called racist. So let's just turn a blind eye. Let's blame the girls, and let that be it. Let that be it. Let's just blame the girls. It's the girls' fault. Because how dare we say it's the man's fault, and how dare we describe him as a Pakistani Muslim paedophile, because that's racist. Yeah. But it's not racist to call a white British man a white paedophile. That's okay. You can call him a white paedophile or a Christian paedophile, you know. At the end of the day, they're paedophiles, no matter what colour they are.
Yeah. And what come to light in Baroness Casey's findings was a percentage of like 24% of these rape gangs were Pakistani rape gangs that they had recorded. Let's remember that they only recorded maybe 30% of every case. So instead of looking into it, they just went, "Oh, we assume the rest are white." They never looked into it. They just assumed that and then put it into findings. So then people say, "Well, majority of the grooming gangs are white." But no, they're not, because there's no evidence to support that. There's definitely evidence to support the other.
Yeah.
You know, and she's had to open up 800 cases that are closed in Oldham alone. 800 cases that have been closed. Reopen them up for investigation because she found stuff stupid, like she was going through the files at the police station, come across some documents you see Tipex. She picked off the Tipex underneath Tipex said Pakistani.
Yeah.
They Tipex Pakistani off it.
That's see that for me that is a cover up.
Yeah.
Cover up. You're covering over words with Tipex. It's a fucking cover up.
And that's it. She states it's because they were fearful of being called racist. So I'm so glad she's done this independent inquiry into Oldham, and she's come back with all of these things saying, well, no, the majority of these are of a Pakistani ethnicity. And they have smudged all the findings to do when they say that a lot of them are white. They just haven't recorded it and they assumed it. So when you haven't recorded the right amount of details and you haven't recorded what ethnicity these people are, what kind of things that they've done, then you're never going to get true figures. And she's come out and said, no, sorry, but the majority are Pakistani, Pakistani ethnicity. There's the cover-ups is to cover up the fact that they're from that minority, and all of these now need to be reopened. 801 cancelled, and she expects another 700 more.
But how? So these 800 cases, you know more about it than I do. These 800 cases, were they cases that led to a conviction, or these cases?
No. Cases that the police closed for insufficient evidence, or because the girls were complicit, or because the girls were drunk on that night. And all of these girls were under the age of 16. Every single one of them of these 800 cases.
Oh, right. So basically, then, if the young girl's drunk, then it's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's pretty much what they say in the police.
Okay, right. So, that's just basically saying any paedophile out there, get the girl drunk, and you're all right.
Yes.
She's complicit. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Away you go. Your way. That's fucking sick, mate.
Yeah, it's grim. Absolutely disgusting. It's disgusting behaviour from anyone. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I don't even care if you're scared of being called racist. Like that, to me, is disgusting behaviour. You don't do stuff like that.
I tell you what, I'd love to hear. I would love, whether we do or not, I'd love to hear, whether it be in the comments or someone wants to contact us via our TikToks or whatever. But it'd be interesting if there's a parent out there whose daughter has gone through this. I don't want to know any details or anything explicit or anything, but just their opinion on this. I mean, that's all we know what it'd be, but just how it makes a parent whose child has gone through this feel. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, you want to hear from us. You kind of want to hear from the side that we can't wrap our heads around. You know, especially from a parent's point of view, or I would like to know the procedure that they had to follow just to try and get something done. You know, because it seems to me that a lot of them don't get anywhere. You know?
Can you imagine being a parent, going to a police station with your daughter? She's just lost it. She's broken down. She's broken. She's physically, mentally broken because of what's happened. And as a parent, you think, I'm going to the police station. I'm going to get these people locked up. In your head, you're going to get them locked up. For a police officer to sit there and say, well, she was drunk, so, you know, it's her fault. How as a parent, do you take your daughter out of that police station? How do you take your daughter out of the police station, take her home? What do you say to her? Because that's it. That's your last line of defence.
I couldn't give you an answer because I can't even imagine it. I can't even To be honest, if a policeman said that to me, I wouldn't be leaving that police station.
No, same here. Same here. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, he probably wouldn't be leaving the police station unless it was on a stretcher.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening at home, I want you to make sure that your children are safe.
Yeah.
You know, your young girls going to school and back, for fuck's sake, make sure they're safe. Because we can see that the system ain't doing nothing. So please, if you're a parent out there, make sure your children are safe. My little girl's 13, she goes to high school, she gets a bus and back. My little girl's got an arsenal of a personal alarm with a LED light, lets off a loud siren, and she carries a can of deep heat spray. You know, because you have to make sure your kids are safe, because we see what's going on, and it's a parent's worst nightmare. And for any parent that watches this who's been through this, I apologise. I'm so sorry that you have to go through that.
I know. Mate, we could go on about this. Personally, I want to wrap this up in the next minute or so, because I'm a bit...
yeah, no, I agree. It's hard.
It is, yeah. But we are going to come back to this. I think we'll do a part 2 of this. I think we owe it to... It would be lovely to do a part 2 if a parent could contact us. Somebody, and we know there's hundreds of thousands of them out there whose children have suffered at the hands of these Pakistani grooming gangs, you know, paedophiles.
Yeah.
Paedophile gangs. Grooming, now, you know, a wife has a groom. You groom a horse.
Yeah.
No, not grooming. The paedophiles. Let's just say it out there, the paedophiles. Be interesting if we could have some contact with a parent who would maybe interact with us and just, we wouldn't disclose the name, but it'd be interesting if we could just get their opinion and even some facts that maybe we're not aware of that we could bring to a part 2. I think that'd be interesting. But for me, with this now, I'm going to need 10 minutes after this, mate. I'm going to need just to go sit outside, have 10 minutes, and try and switch off from it.
Yeah,
I've got a busy day tomorrow. I know you have. I've got guests coming around my house tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I need to get this out of my head because it's going to hang around for a few hours, and I don't want it to hang around into tomorrow. And that's not me saying I don't want to think about these girls. Of course I do. That's all I ever do. And so we talk about it a lot. But I just want to try and switch off a bit because it's disturbed me a little bit. It is disturbing, isn't it, mate?
Yeah. I find it hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard to deal with. And like you say, you know, having young children, I have a young niece who's 10 years old and she's beautiful. I mean, she's just a beautiful little thing. So innocent. You know, and all these girls were innocent. All these girls were, and they are still innocent. They are still innocent. They've done nothing wrong. None of them have done anything wrong. They're innocent young girls. You know, some of them are young women now. But some of them young women never had their innocence and their childhood stolen from them in the most vicious, brutal, evil way. It's evil. It is evil. You know, it's evil. They should be making as much of this as the Americans did about Epstein.
Yeah.
We're still talking about Epstein, what he did in America. You know, look at the news in America with P. Diddy all over it. It's on every single major news channel talking about it. Fuck all on our TV about this.
That's why we're here. Okay.
This is bigger than Epstein. This is bigger than your puff daddies. This is bigger than Savile.
Yeah.
This is the biggest sexual case the UK has ever faced, and they're just brushing it under the carpet. You know, and it's taken for people like us to sit and talk about it and find it difficult to speak about. For people, you know, because no one else seems to care and want to talk about it, mate.
And it's one of them ones where, to be honest, I will never let it rest. I will never shut up about it. Never ever will I shut up about this because I can't switch it off.
No,
I think about this all the time because it's just, to me, it's just so horrific how people are allowed to get away with it. And I promise, I will never shut up. I will never stop talking about this, bringing this into light, making content about it, trying to help people through it. and I do talk to people, a lot of people that have been through situations like this, and I will never stop.
Yeah. I mean, we share a lot of stuff, don't we? We share a lot of stuff on WhatsApp and things like that, just little snippets. Have you seen this? And usually we've seen it ourselves, but we share it, and it's constant, isn't it? I mean, it is constant. Yeah. You try your hardest to sort of take your mind away from it, but these young victims, sorry, my cats are going nuts here. These young victims they deserve justice. It's never going to fix them. It's never going to make them undo what happened to them. But they deserve justice. And if they can find any little chink of light in their futures through that justice, then they deserve that. They deserve that. And this government, from the top right down the bottom to the carers, like we said, even doctors. I mean, you're telling me some of these girls have never been to doctors with problems, with sexual diseases and things that they've had to be treated? You're telling me there's never been one of these young girls that had to go to a local doctor because they've had a dose of something? And what's that doctor done? Has he
just found it? Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what we're saying. It's institutional. It's through every layer of everything you can possibly imagine. These girls have been let down by the system, completely let down.
I think the final word should be for these girls. And just to say that, myself, you, and millions like us, we're fighting for you. We're here for you. You know, and to us, you are victims and you deserve justice. Yeah. Guys, it's been a tough one this tonight. It has been a tough one, and like Jason said earlier, if like us, it's affected you, we apologise for that. But these issues need to be spoken about. But please get your comments in the comment section. Please please subscribe to the Truth Coalition. We'll be back, myself and Jason. We've got so much more to say. We'll never stop talking about this. We'll never stop wanting justice for these young girls and these young boys as well. And we'll never, ever, ever stop criticising the people above who are doing absolutely jack shit about it. These girls deserve justice, mate.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you. From myself, Jay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll see you all soon, guys. Take care. Stay safe.
We watched the house with broken glass, red ties, blue lights, same old mask. Tories trading truth for gold, label folded, stories sold. They made their millions, made us pay. Gaslit nights, cost of living days. Hands in pockets, hands in bribes. While we bury dreams and scrape to survive. We see your rules for the rich, your friends, your deals, your offshore ships. We ain't blind, we've had enough. You lit the match, now feel the rush. The people rise, the truth ignites. From the silent streets to sleepless nights. No more lies, no more games. We won't be pawns, we won't be tamed. You built your throne on broken trust. Now the regime falls because of us. Illegal wars and contracts sealed. Cameras blind when truth gets killed. One law for you, one law for none. Justice choked under Albion's sun. Labor cheers in Tory tone. Promise change but left us alone. Two wings, one vulture in disguise. But the people see and the people rise. No justice, no peace, no voice we speak. You stole our futures in daylight death, but we are many and we're what's left. The people rise, we roar, we fight in every borough, every night. No more spin, no more disguise. We claim the truth, we claim the skies. This land, our voice, our blood.